Roll call? That's here.
Stengler here.
Mommy here.
Crave here.
Cummings here.
Schneider here and Lewandowski here.
Here. Hey.
I do have in front of me proper postings, verification, and meeting notices. Brings us to the action of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda for this evening? There are none. Hearing none, I'd look for a motion to approve said agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Crave, second. Got a motion on the floor to approve the agenda as presented by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Mr. Crave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Brings us to the minutes from the regular meeting August 1st, the open session. Any changes to be noted in the minutes? Go ahead, Mr. Sets.
All I see is on second to the last page under the 22-23 overload assignments, we have a motion by Kwame, second by Stangler, but we have no vote.
Yes. Any other items? Hearing none, I look for a motion to approve the minutes with the one noted change.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. Setz, seconded by Ms. Stangler to approve the minutes with the noted missing info. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0. Brings us to the administrative reports. I believe we have up first Mr. Bartelt to speak on fundraisers, overnight trips, and the start of the school year, and I believe I see that he is joining us virtually.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear and see me okay?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So I'll start with fundraisers. So a lot of our fundraisers at the high school this year are heavy with groups, clubs, activities, and some athletics as well. I won't go through each of them individually. You can see them in front of you. Nothing is very different from years past. Maybe just some changes. Nothing major though. From the high school standpoint. So all that information is there for fundraisers this school year. And then for overnight trips, a lot of this is our state and national conventions with some FFA, FBLA trips that are overnight. And then also we have a wrestling tournament at UW Oshkosh. And then this year, we are doing a domestic trip with the high school over spring break to New York and Washington, D.C. That's an every other year trip, as next school year we would be traveling overseas to Italy, over to Europe. So the overnight trips are in front of you. The fundraisers are in front of you. Again, I won't go into details on each of those because there are a lot of them, but I am happy to answer any questions if you do have any about the trips or fundraisers.
Any board questions? Nothing noted, Sean.
All right, perfect. So there's that. And then I believe I was on for a brief update to start the school year. Just want to, talk about the first couple days of school. We started off the high school with all school assembly, lots of excitement, did some staff introductions, did some student council led that assembly. They did a fantastic job. And we actually started our first homecoming competition that morning, 10 minutes into the school day. So we had some excitement in the gym. Then the first 2 days of school during flex time at the end of the day, we had class meetings where I went through handbook expectations with ninth grade, and then the sophomores had homecoming with Mrs. Holden and the advisors. And then we would flip. And on Friday, we did the same with juniors and seniors. So we went through the specifics of more so I went through expectations with behaviors and discipline and touched on some other pieces as well. And then they were able to get signed up for some homecoming groups, which was exciting. A big focus this year has been our electronic device expectations, and that's going well. We've had a few incidents, nothing major at this point, and that was, kind of something that we knew was going to happen. But we've communicated with families if there's been an incident. We've talked with the students, so all the students know those expectations, and it's actually going quite well. With only being just over a week into the school year, it's hard to really say if our engagement is up at this point, but I've had comments from staff saying it's been kind of nice not having to micromanage the earbuds and the phones in the classroom. So that's been great. But again, there's a lot of excitement in the high school. The students have been positive. They're off to a good start. Our staff is eager. They put a lot of work in, and just want to say thanks to the students and staff, and also to our high school office, Lori Billingsley, Kathy Tarnowski, Tyler Copleen, and now Thurston Schuster, who's stepping in for me as I'm out on leave with my new little one. So everyone's kind of stepping up and picking up the pieces, which has been great.
Any questions for Mr. Bartel?
Hey, I got a question on the fundraisers.
Go ahead.
Fast and eliminating that. Hey, Sean, on the fundraisers, I just have a couple questions. One is, when I'm looking at the cost per student, some of them are equal to the student cost, but some of them are more, and then the student cost is less. Is that picked up by the club then, the balance?
Yeah, so that would be we have activity accounts that could help with that.
Okay, the other thing is too, we're asked to approve these things, but there's a lot of to be determined and possibilities and things on here. Is that because of some reason that they don't look like when the dates are, or?
So for the fundraisers,
Yeah, or for the overnight trips, I should say.
Yeah,
let me
it's showing
Yeah,
it's
so-
2020.
Right, so you're technically only approving this year's one. We do tend to put 2 and 3 years out just so you can see what's coming. Obviously, they don't have the planning.
But I'm looking at the one for 22-23 under the mission. It says to be determined. And
Yes.
also on the back with all the halftime conference, edge conference, FFA officer retreat, they all got to be determined, and no costs are down.
Yeah, so those aren't out at this point. Those are ones that we've done in the past, but they usually release those here shortly once the school year starts.
Any other questions for Mr. Bartel?
Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you, Mr. Satz, right now, but that's just kind of how those conferences are set up.
Okay.
Thank you, Sean. Hopefully you're able to get some rest with your new addition. Congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you.
That'll bring us to Christine Zeman to also speak on fundraisers and back to school information.
Yes. In your packet, you have the 5-8 proposed fundraisers for 22 and 23. They are pretty much the same as what we did last year. One change to note is that the art department last year did a program called Artsonia, and when parents purchased art or products made with student art, they got a percentage. This year, our new art teacher, Megan Maurer, is choosing to do a program called Square One. She thinks it's a better program, and the art department will get 38% of all the proceeds. So that is one change to note. Something that is not on your agenda that I want to bring to your attention is our student council. We'll have a pep assembly tomorrow to kick off our school year, and their focus this year will be on school pride. So they will announce the representatives for student council tomorrow, and then once student council begins to meet, they will have various things throughout the year, like penny wars, food drive, probably they'll sell Valentine's or candy again in February, but since the student council representatives have not been involved in that decision yet, that is not set in stone, but that will most likely. And I also wanted to let you know for our beginning of the year activities that tomorrow we'll have a pre-K-8 faculty meeting that will kick off our PBIS initiatives, and we will go through all those expectations with staff, and then we will have a student kickoff after that.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Zena? That'll bring us to Ms. Beacon to talk also about fundraisers and first day of school.
Sure. Oh, so we have the one in common fundraiser, the same one with art, and then the only other one that I've added to my list is for our school garden. I sell tickets. I'm the person who started the school garden, so we sell tickets at our family nights for our families to decorate, and then we make them part of the school garden. We use that money, it goes right back to the school garden. Use those funds there. I could not be more thrilled with the new staff and the old staff that we have at the elementary school. They are nothing short of amazing. They really are. They're working so hard. Our 4K kiddos are busy right now, really picking up on routines and really starting to get into what it means to be in school. And the kids are just really happy to be here, and every day it just gets better and better. So it's really great down in our 4K. Our kindergartners are adjusting to our new routines, and they're really rocking it out. And our new teachers down there are really loving being here in Waterloo. So that is a really nice testament to all of you in this community. They really do enjoy their positions here, and they're having a great year. First grade, they started, and they're finishing up and working on routines and expectations as well. They're working on group, like common, so they're trying to make a Mr. Potato Head so they can earn a group reward by working together. Our second grade teachers have started already. Their routines are already established, so as we get older, things go a little faster. They're really working on our new Wonders curriculum and really have said that the children really like that curriculum, so we're very excited about that. Third grade is also working in that Wonders curriculum already, and they say that their children are really loving multiplication right now when it comes to math. And our oldest, our fourth graders are really trying to work on being that positive leader in our school and really helping to set that example for our younger students. They're going to be taking over announcements, probably because Mrs. Beacon can't get back to the office by 8:10. So the teachers are like, let the kids do it, and I'm happy to share that with them. And they'll be sharing their inspirational quotes and their positive mindsets with the students in the building. So I'm excited to let them take over.
Any questions for Ms. Beacon? Thank you.
Thanks.
Brings us to Mrs. Armentrout to discuss state student protocols.
Good evening, everyone. I feel like I bring you plenty of nighttime reading material, and the Safe Student Protocol is kind of our next step in student services to kind of review and revise our protocols and make sure that we have really good systems in place to make sure that we're responding to student needs and concerns. So the manual that you have in your packet, it was created, I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Tegan Ochoa, our elementary counselor, and the other counselors on the team, Mr. Dale Thorson, Mr. Tyler Kapleen, and our school psychologist, Sheila Feeder. Just a really great team, and the manual's goal is to support that team when we're screening, when we have students concerned for self-injury or at suicide risk. So you'll see sort of a compilation of responses and resources that will be linked for staff, and then it will also be available on the district website for families so that they can see what are the protocols and procedures that we use and what are some resources if there are questions or concerns.
Any board questions for Mrs. Armitrout? Thank you.
Thank you.
Brings us to Mrs. Gould to talk about 21-22 budget transfer.
Yes, this is done each year, kind of realign the budget with what the spending was done. You guys find in your packet there. I'm going to point out a couple areas that you may have questions on. For instance, under support services, the 250000, we had extra budgeted in there because we were anticipating some repairs that needed fixed at the beginning of last year. Didn't know how that was going to quite play out, so we put some extra budget in there. We also had less of the inter-fund transfers, and that is because we had a couple special ed changes, two larger costing ones, so that was lower than expected, the original budget. And then for the Fund 80, we had some costs that we thought about doing and we did not do this fiscal year. So those are the main ones I wanted to highlight. Did anyone have any questions on them?
Questions, board members?
Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to Mr. Hannan and the referendum update.
Yep, so in front of you, when you arrived, you should have found an invitation to the district referendum informational meetings. Flyers should be hitting all district residents' mailboxes towards the end of this week. So we're kind of targeting an informational campaign in two ways. One, we're holding some in-person meetings on October 3rd at 7 p.m. and then October 24th at 7 p.m. But we're also planning to send everybody information through multiple flyers so they can receive it at home in the mail. And then we're really trying to make all of those pieces available on the website as well. We also have started meeting with any local group that will be kind enough to let us come to their meeting and speak. We've hit a couple groups already and have a couple dozen of them planned over the next few weeks, so that we're catching all of the civic organizations and groups and so whatnot in the community. We also are going to be giving flyers out to the churches to make available at services and whatnot. Really trying to make sure we catch all different kinds of organizations and groups. And then you'll have some poster boards that are up at area businesses as well. So we feel that if we target those areas, that the information will be out there, and we want everybody to have every opportunity possible to find out and learn more about the referendum. Also in your packet in front of you then, there is a timeline, and these are a work in progress, so they are ever evolving. That just kind of lays out where we've been and where we're going. And then in the back there's some more information about the information campaign and what it is we're doing and how we're targeting groups and information to get out to the community. So if anybody on the board wanted to add anything to that list, we certainly are looking to make sure we catch anybody that we can, because we may have forgotten somebody. Or if there's any other avenues that you'd like information out, we certainly would like to be aware of that too. So social media, I like to talk about social media. Social media can be a very powerful tool, although the experts will tell you that social media is probably not the tool to start your discussions about referendums. So we're trying to use social media to tell people where to go for the information, or where to get the information, or to invite them to the informational meetings. You won't see a lot of the actual information going out on social media, because we don't want that to become a platform for debate. We want that to remain positive be what we use to tell our school story. If you're wondering about our philosophy on social media, that will certainly be a tool that we use to help spread information and point people in the right directions on where to get that information. Questions, comments, suggestions?
This Thursday is the City of Waterloo
Yep.
meeting, so.
Yeah, we have several on our calendar that didn't even make the updates for your board packet here, but.
It
right.
did, it's in there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, good. We got her in there.
City of Waterloo meeting, will that be here?
Nope, it'll be at the City of, or the City Hall.
City Hall.
Yep.
Okay. And Town of Portland meeting will be at Portland Town Hall, I take it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would assume, right?
Yes, yep, we're on theirs as well. So the first flyer that you'll get in the mail is more of an invitation with a little bit of beginning introduction to what the referendum contains. The one that you'll receive in a week or two has all of the financial figures, all of the stats, and all the explanation for how everything breaks down. So if people are wondering, what's the tax impact, what other schools are going to referendum, what's our budget, what's our revenue cap, all of those questions will be answered on flyer number 2. And then we'll follow up on flyer number 3 with some additional items, and we'll try to cover anything that comes out of those listening session or informational meetings that are being held in October. So the most important thing is that everybody remembers to get out and vote. That's on November 8th. And if anybody does have any questions, please always feel free to call. And then we put board member information on there too, and I apologize because I spelled Sarah's name wrong. But you may get some calls as well.
Any additional questions for Mr. Henning?
So you're gonna include which, are you gonna include anything in the mail that describes like how much we anticipate it to be in their, like going up on their taxes?
Yep.
So I see it here, I just didn't know, like, is that gonna be in like letter 2 or?
Yeah, that's in that second flyer, which will be probably 2 weeks or so
Okay.
from now.
Okay.
And that will give the cost impact like per 100,000. So, and I can just tell you, it's about $95 per $100,000 in property.
And that's on the high end,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. Obviously there are lots of moving targets, and so we do our best to try to calculate where it will be. But until everything shakes out, we won't know exactly. And then, of course, the state can change what they do. The local taxing entities can change what they do. Madison College can change what they tax, and so ours is a portion of your tax bill, but not the entire tax bill. So the school portion will go up approximately $95 per 100,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Henning?
That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Henning. It brings us moving forward to the approval of bills and vouchers. First up, the treasurer's report, and then we also have the disbursements through July 31st, August 31st. Any questions that have not been answered previously through correspondence with our administrative staff?
Are we voting on them combined or separate?
I would leave that to whatever motion gets put on the floor.
All right.
I see that the capital projects fund balance is holding strong, Mrs. Gould. 26 cents. Good. I have one question on the, very easy question for you. So we made a payment to Aegis Corporation for the crime policy. Is that for the insurance?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
The description drew my questions.
yeah.
And I had one pertaining to page 1 of the receipts, errors and omissions and auto, that's all looped together. Is that a semi-annual payment or an annual payment? Community insurance, about 8 items down.
On page, are we talking,
Page 1, checklist.
for July?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's all that's CIC community insurance, that's our insurance payment. So there's general liability, there's auto, there's regular, or there's liability with errors and omission, and everything that CIC covers the majority of our insurance in the district.
You'll see another one similar to that in
So is this a monthly premium roughly or a semi-annual?
This one, I believe this one here I think is annual.
Okay.
This is not the main premium. There's a couple that we pay up front annually and then we pay kind of more structured.
All right.
Yeah, all of our insurance together roughly runs about $100K, Charlie.
Okay.
Like if you took all of our insurances together, that's not including health insurance and dental, of course, but any of our liability, property, casualty, workers' comp,
And we
cyber crime, all of those
Yeah,
are
and we
about
just switched
100.
our vendors, so I'm not quite sure their payment. I believe.
Well, based upon personal experience, I was doing a little quick and dirty in my head, and when I looked at this 10,000, I thought, is that the whole deal broken down 12 times, or, okay, I got it.
Insurance is not cheap for schools. Anytime you have
That's an understatement.
800 some kids and 125 staff running around under one place, it's, the insurance price tag is pretty hefty.
I got it.
Any other questions regarding the treasurer's report or the listing disbursements for either July or August? Or district receipts?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Cummings will second.
And I would just like to clarify, I'm assuming your motion is to approve for both months.
Yes,
Okay,
sorry.
no problem. So I've got a motion by Ms. Stangler, seconded by Ms.
Cummings.
Cummings.
Cool.
To approve, it is a roll call vote. We will be again approving both months. It's great.
So move.
Cummings?
Cummings, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I am a yes. Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Legislative updates. Again, see, we had a handout in our informer regarding state collections, seating projections. Any input there, Mr. Henning, or anyone, any board
So-
members?
Yeah, I thought I would take the opportunity to share with you again that, you know, the predictions are that our state will be sitting on roughly $5 billion at the end of this year. So I did a little quick math on that today. So if you took that $5 billion and divided it by the 428 school districts in the state of Wisconsin, that comes out to about 11 million per school district. And so I think that's important to note because even, you know, nobody likes to pay more taxes than they have to, but when the taxes have been paid already and the legislators choose not to give schools any new revenue, when just a very, very small portion of that would solve our budget crisis here in Waterloo, I think that's something that when you have the ear of your legislator, you should let them know that maybe we should take a different path. I'll just leave it at that.
Point received. Any other comments, board members? All right, moving on, announcements. As already stated, but congratulations to the Bartelt family on their new addition to their family. As spoken by Mr. Henning, I guess we've got some good dates to point out there. Monday, October 3rd and Monday, October 24th for upcoming information regarding the referendum. And the ultimate date of November 8th to cast the vote. Any other announcements, Mr. Henning?
Just a reminder that in 2 weeks, we will be having the annual meeting and budget hearing as well, so everybody's invited to that also.
Is it 6 or 6:30? Or is it
6.
6 to 6:30?
Budget hearing 6, annual meeting at 6:30, so both.
Got it.
All right. This brings us to the public input section of the meeting. Anyone who wishes to provide public input this evening will need to clearly identify themselves prior to said input and is responsible for comments that are made. Is there anyone who would like to provide public input, whether virtually or in person? Hearing none, moving forward. New business brings us to action item A, staff positions. In your board informer packet, it is a lofty list that is recommended for approval. Any questions, Mr. Henning, regarding the staff positions?
Yeah, I have a question. For the teachers we're hiring, are they licensed to teach the positions we're hiring, or are we hiring anyone under emergency licensure?
I believe everybody is, but let me just double check. Yes, everybody presented tonight is certified for the area they're being hired for.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'd look for a motion.
I'll motion to approve the staff positions as listed.
Cummings is second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Ms. Lewandowski, seconded by Ms. Cummings, to approve the staff positions as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, but I'm gonna abstain on everyone that has sets as the last name.
Okay.
And I would say aye, but I will abstain from everyone that has Kwame as a.
Okay, so motion will carry on a 7-0 vote with the following abstentions listed for anyone with the last name Kwame by Mrs. Kwame and anyone with the last name of Setz by Mr. Setz. Does that work for you, Mr. Henning?
Yes.
Takes us to action item B, the 2022-2023 overnight field trips. We heard from various administrators previously. Any discussions in regarding the overnight field trips?
So will it be coming back to the board when there's more information for 2023 in spring, or is it not gonna be, is it, we're approving it and then it's done? Cause it has to be determined, so I just didn't know.
Yeah, typically, we've just done it once a year, but if the board wants to entertain changing that, we certainly can.
I would move to approve the overnight field trips as.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I will second.
Okay. So I've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Mr. Crave to approve as presented. I am sure that the administration would be more than willing to provide any updated information if something changes or if there's something we need to know.
Yeah, we could email you what the costs were last year, so at least you have an idea of what they were. I think, Mrs. Bosnick was just a little reluctant because she didn't know the new cost, but, we went last year, so I'm sure she knows what last year's cost was. It's just whether or not it increased. So we can definitely send that out to you.
Okay, any other discussion before we vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Action item C, 2022-2023 fundraisers. Again, we've heard previously in board and administrative reports, regarding fundraisers. I believe we had some questions answered. Is there any additional discussion in regards to the fundraisers that are presented?
Cummings will make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 fundraisers.
Okay, got a motion on the floor by Mrs. Cummings, seconded by Ms. Kwame to approve as presented. All
I got
those in
a
favor?
question. I
Hold
just
on.
have one question, like, I think was the last meeting we had a volleyball fundraiser come up, I don't see anything with volleyball in here. Is that something that's gonna come back to us every year, once a year to approve, or how is that?
I don't know, Mr. Schuster or Mr. Bartelt, I don't know if you guys want to speak to that.
I would say that the plan will be to do that yearly. As I found out, I think we made $4 to $5 grand from that fundraiser. So I do think it will probably keep happening through the volleyball program. I know it's not on that list, but I know our volleyball coach isn't a staff member, so maybe he didn't quite get the link or something like that to get on there. But I would assume that that would be the motion moving forward.
Okay, any other questions? And just for clarification, as it's not listed, and we've got a motion on the floor to approve what is presented, it would have to come back to the board for approval.
Yeah, if there were any new ones,
Yes.
or something not on the list.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Action item D, conference realignment. As stated in your former packet, our athletic directors, Mr. Schuster and Ms. Dose, will be at the Trailways Conference meeting and we'll discuss the status of a conference realignment. So if Mr. Schuster would like to elaborate.
Yep, I can take over. So these last couple months, I've been a part of a few different conversations with the Capital Conference as well as the Trailways Conference. Kind of looking at what was kind of coming forward is in a year or so, or I think not this coming year, but the year after, the WIA's plan is to realign all the conferences. Basically, our goal as a district is trying to get ahead of it to make sure that we are doing what's best for our students, both activities and in athletics, as it would affect both. But initially, we, Mr. Henning, Mr. Bartelt, and Mr. Frizzell, I believe, proposed or made a proposal to the Trailways to possibly move over to the Trailways South in hearing of the Capital Conference possibly merging. The main reason why we were looking to maybe possibly move out of there is because there are a lot of our schools that are in the Capital North that are much bigger in enrollment size than us, as well as competitive balance, where kind of looking at statistics show that we have really struggled going against the Capital North. So that was kind of the main reason why we were looking to move to the Trailways, as it fit better aligned with enrollment size, competitive balance, and so on and so forth. After going through a couple meetings with the athletic directors, I have found out that there is a little bit of a change with that. The Capital North schools are more so looking to try to move with the Rock Valley Conference, leaving the Capital South as their own conference, with adding a couple teams. As of right now, we wouldn't know what teams those would be, but some speculations is what it would be: our Capital South, which would be Marshall, Cambridge, us, Wisconsin Heights, New Glarus, Belleville, and then there's been talks of maybe Poynette moving down into the Capital South, or just the Capital Conference, as their enrollment is more similar to the south than it is the north, and then possibly a smaller Rock Valley team such as Clinton, which we do play in our football-only conference, or Broadhead. So with talks with that, it isn't quite the same thoughts that were kind of coming initially, where that's why we wanted to move. So we're in the motion of, we're kind of in the middle. We've told the Capital Conference that we have been looking to go to the Trailways, and now the Trailways, they voted on us coming into the Trailways Conference, and it was unanimous vote. Because basically they have 3 conferences, we would be the 24th school to make it an even 8 teams in each conference. For me, basically that's kind of where the change is, knowing that it's not just the Capital North and the Capital South merging. It kind of gives my thoughts a little bit more teetering of if we would like to go to the Trailways or if we'd like to stay in the Capital Conference. And that's more so the reason why I'm kind of talking about it today, is because I kind of want to get opinions of our coaches. I've talked to them, our booster club who helps fund our athletics, as well as community members and people that represent the district. So basically the way I see it is, if we moved out of the Capitol, we wouldn't be facing our so-called rivals of like Marshall and Cambridge in our conference play, but more than likely we would be still trying to play them in non-conference as being able to. It would leave, the football-only conference would still be going, so the football would stay same. Every other sport would be impacted, as well as all of our activities. So basically I just wanted to kind of see maybe some of our thoughts or inputs from our board members to kind of see which direction we'd like to kind of move forward with. And I know we've had some conversations with other groups, but basically being able to take our discussion here and kind of using it as input for what our ultimate decision would be as a district.
What are the teams in the Flyway, or the Trailway South would be? What are they? 8?
So it would depend on the sport. There are some smaller schools in the Trailways that don't have all the sports that we have. So right now they have a north, west, and a south, but then basically depending on the sport, they'll either have the 3 conferences or they'll move to 2 conferences where it'll be the north and the south. But primarily for volleyball and basketball, track and field, I believe the Trailway South, it would still be the 3 divisions, and I would go off of that probably the most, which would be us, Deerfield, Palmyra, Eagle, Parkview, Williams Bay, Madison Country Day, which is a private school in Madison, as well as I think it's St. Ambrose, St. Scholastica is a co-op. That would be the 8 teams. I believe I said them all.
There be a problem as far as our younger JVs or freshmen if we move to a smaller school conference and participating?
There is that possibility. I have not done the research to see if they do have multiple JV squads or anything like that. I do know in the Capital Conference right now, there are a plethora of JV1 and JV2 teams all the way through all of our sports, for our main sports of basketball, volleyball, but every team basically has a JV and a varsity in the Capital South.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yep.
So you said when the Capital Conference is splitting that the Capital North those teams are for sure not going to be in Capital anymore, or is that still kind of up in the air?
So basically everything is up in the air because the WIA has the final say. But kind of what a lot of people are hearing is that they want basically the conferences to maybe try to work and propose some plans to give to the WIA to basically give the final say. So basically if we move forward to even go to the Trailways, it might not even happen. One, the WIA might decline it, or we would have to go to a fast track, which the Capital South already said they would do. So basically, it depends on what the WIA would like anyways, but basically, right now, we're looking to maybe solidify it more so if we would want to start creating plans to be a part of the Trailways, or start creating plans to start being a part of the Capital Conference.
So, because it's up in the air, we could decide to stay capital, and then those north teams could also end up in capital again, and we'd be right where we currently are.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
But the other piece too is just because the Trailways voted us to come, that does not particularly mean that's where we get to go either. So it's basically, we try to help be proactive and propose the plans that we would like to see as a conference, and hopefully it aligns similar to other conference plans. If it doesn't, then the WIA is basically going to go and set them anyways, because they ultimately have the final say. They're not going to leave any team out where we don't have an issue of saying we're not going to have a conference, because either way, the WIA won't leave one school behind.
And that's what makes it so difficult too, is you're trying to hit a moving target, because it takes 2 to 3 years to even get on the WIA's radar to change conferences, but yet you got them realigning at the state level, you got individual conferences talking about shifting teams around, and then you got individual schools wanting to do what's best for them. It really is kind of a tough decision, and it doesn't mean whatever we decide today we can't change our mind. It's just, it doesn't happen overnight when you do decide to change. A couple things, I think Jim's point about the JV, I think that's a real serious consideration, because we definitely would more than likely have more difficulty finding JV and JV2 games. But enrollment wise, if you look at your Wisconsin Heights, your Belleville, your New Glarus's, they tend to be increasing enrollment, and we're probably declining enrollment. So, you know, you get this disparity. If we're down to 160 kids and they're, you know, at 340, you know, we're playing schools twice our size, and that's a competitive balance issue. And then, of course, if you go to the Trailways, you might have a little bit more in travel cost, but you'll be playing more like size schools. So there's a lot of trade-offs with this decision. So, we want to hear what you think, and we certainly will keep pursuing all avenues that are best for the district.
How does the basketball and volleyball coaches feel? Because you said you talked with them.
Yes, overall for our coaches, it was a 6-3. Well, 6 of them would rather stay in the Capitol, 3 would like to move to the Trailways. I would say our basketball coaches are more in favor of moving to the Trailways. Our volleyball coach is more in favor of staying in the Capitol.
I had a question. So, is there a definitive timeline? Time frame?
Basically, in our AD meetings so far, they've kind of wanted us to have a plan going forward. Our meeting is on Wednesday, and I'd like to give a little bit better clarification. I've kind of just stayed back and said I'm not really sure what our full for sure plan is yet, but the sooner would probably be the better for us to make sure that we get in at least one of those groups of plans.
Yeah, right now, if you were to ask me, I think our answer is, if the Capital North teams are going to join the South, we don't want to be in the Capital. We want to be in the Trailways. If they are truly going to go in a different direction, then we're probably fine in the Capital South.
In talking with a lot of the athletic directors from the North, they don't want to come down to the South either. They want to find that competitive balance. A lot of their non-conference games are already against the Rock Valley, and basically that the conference commissioner is an ex-athletic director for Jefferson, so the conference does have ties with the Rock Valley now, and they are hoping that having him at the helm of the conference commissioner, that there'll spark a little bit better conversations. And then the same thing as some of those really small schools in the Rock Valley, such as Broadhead and Clinton, they would have maybe a possibility of coming in and basically switching with those Capital North schools.
I don't know if I missed this. When do we anticipate this change would take place?
So basically, we had to have our plans proposed by next August, but the plans would not go into action until the next school, the 24-25 school year. So there is some time, but for me, and I think the district, I think the best way would be to kind of figure out which way we want to go as a group before basically the capital just starts saying, oh, Waterloo doesn't want anything to do with it, and they leave us up, and then we end up wanting to actually stay with them and things like that. I just want to be able to give the conferences a definitive answer, because I've been getting calls from Horicons athletic director, who's like their president, asking about what our initial, like our number one thing, what we want to be able to do. So that's kind of why we want to bring this to discussion.
Any other questions? Have you looked, I guess, we talked logistics a bit, or touched on it. As you look across the board in joining that conference, is that gonna cost our student athletes more school time, having to leave early, et cetera, for various contests? If travel's further away, you have to, I would think.
Yes, and for me, I feel like it's pretty similar, because you think of that, we go to Belleville, we go to New Glarus, we go to Wisconsin Heights. I mean, those are already like pretty decent amounts of travel. I think the Williams Bay travel would trumps the rest of them with a little bit longer. But that is one thing that you would probably want to consider too, is because we're thinking cross country meet, if a conference meets in Williams Bay, how early do you have to leave and things like that, where we already have to leave sometimes early, or basically with busing, we have to either have them leave really early or they have to leave after bus routes and things like that too.
Williams Bay could be an overnight trip.
Well, just like Riverdale was this year for football. But Clinton is no jaunt, is it?
No, that's not the short one
It's,
either.
that one's just under an hour too, but it's a pretty decent travel as well. But if Broadhead ended up being that team too, that would be a pretty significant travel too.
Well, any further discussion, board members, to provide direction? I'm assuming you're looking for some sort of vote or pledge of either
That'd be nice.
stay in the South, or go to the Trailways.
Yeah, so basically it'd be just staying in the Capital Conference. I don't think there's gonna be a South or North. Either way, I think it would be some type of combining, whether it's some of the North schools leaving. We would hope that that wouldn't be it. And like I said, I don't think that's the direction that any of the athletic directors are looking at for. I think we're trying to basically make a plan that has the Capital North schools with the Rock Valley, and then the Capital having like basically the South, and maybe adding a couple of those other schools. So either that or joining the Trailways.
Can you, I guess I have one more question, but can you speak at all, are we currently competing with any of these teams in a non-conference basis?
I would say a lot of our basketball non-conference games are against Trailways teams. We have found more success going against them than we have Capital South schools. But looking at kind of competitive balance right now, I mean, we won conference titles in 3 sports this last year. So I would say the competitive balance as of right now is pretty solid. But again, we don't know what it's going to look like in 3 to 4 to 5 years, because ultimately this decision, and this is why I want to get everybody involved, is because we could be with this decision for 10 to 15 years before there might be some type of another realignment.
I think I saw in the news that Packers are trying to get into the Trailways too, so.
Bears are moving to the north.
All right. Well, I guess I'd look to poll the board before we do any kind of official vote. Let's start with Kate, because I turned to the right. Would you say Capital or Trailways?
The moving target makes it hard. I would like to see a more competitive balance. So if, again, like if the north schools are leaving, that would be great to stay, I think. But I guess the competitive balance would be the ideal situation for us, I feel, for our students, whether that's whichever one that's with.
Okay. Jim?
Well, seeing as this might be a decision for 10 to 15 years, I think I would go with the Trailways, just for competitive balance, because I see schools like Belleville and Glarus and that side of Madison, enrollment's increasing as far as the population goes, building out that way. So, you know, right now I think we're one of the smallest schools, and we'll just be getting smaller the way I look at it. We might get a few more kids, but not as many as those towns. So my vote would be for the Trailways.
Karen?
I do have an opinion, but it's not a very good one. I feel like I don't know enough about how it all works. It makes sense to me to compete with the similar sized school, that makes sense. But all the other moving pieces like the extra miles and the other conference splitting, potentially changing anyway, I don't know. So, I mean, if I were gonna say, I would say let the administration do what they feel is best, because I don't feel my opinion is as good as theirs. That's my thought, so.
Okay. Susan?
In some ways, I feel very similar to Karen. I don't know that I have enough information to make a really good informed decision. I do have concerns about the Trailways size and some of those JV teams not having competition, and so then not growing our athletes to be competitive. That gives me pause with the Trailways for sure. I also think there's a lot of history with the schools in the Capital South, and do you want to lose some of that history as well between those? I'm torn. I think in an ideal state, Mr. Henning described it, right? Those Capital North schools do their own thing, and Capital South stays as it is, at least for the time.
Yeah.
Mr. Crave?
Well, being a native boy, whatever we could do to take it to Clinton would be my preference.
They're already in our football only conference, so we didn't get to do that at homecoming actually.
Oh, good deal. But in a nutshell, I hear what Jim's saying. Some of those schools are going to be growing. I think St. Ambrose and some of those too, they're on a growth trajectory. So I'm leaning towards Trailways.
And I'm leaning opposite. I think a little competition is not bad, especially for our kids. I mean, if Trailways is, you know, is it going to be easier? We don't know. You know, are there going to be those extra teams? I go with Sue and Karen. I think that you guys need to make that decision, along with the coaches too. Maybe having their input. I think it's really important. Obviously, they're coaches. They have the statistics and they know what's coming up. So I would say if it went with the south or north left, then stay with that one, not Trailways. So.
Okay. I guess I'd agree with most or all of the sentiment that was already stated, but to me, one of the big criteria, and Susan touched on it, is ensuring that all of our athletes and or in any event, not just athletes, but any conference events, that we have the greatest ability to participate. So if I don't want to go, I'd rather be in a conference where all of our kids get to participate, and maybe we're not the top of the heap, instead of moving to a conference where maybe we're the top of the heap, but everybody doesn't get to participate. Because I don't think you truly will grow your any of your sports or all of your sports if you don't have that participation. If you press me right now, I would say stay in the Capital South, but the Trailways is, I'm sure there's some benefits in moving there as well. That being said, I don't know if we gave you a whole lot of direction.
Good luck.
Just making sure that we have the ability to compete and I guess be competitive is a good thing. So it doesn't seem to me that either option is a terrible option, given what we know right now. I guess you still have to get a lot of data
Yes, yes.
to know where you guys are going.
And I appreciate you coming in to just talk about it and update us, so thank you.
Absolutely.
So we had this listed as an action item. I don't know if you want us to vote, but I think you've got our sentiment. So,
Yep, I think we have an idea of what you guys are thinking. Obviously, I think in the next day or so, we'll be meeting and trying to make a more informed decision of what we really want to do. So, thank you.
thank you. All right, we will move forward. Action item E, safe student protocols. We had a presentation by Mrs. Armentrout regarding the packet that's in the informer packet. And it was not a ton of questions. She gave credit to her team for putting this together as a resource for all to use. And administration is recommending that we approve as presented. Any further discussion regarding the safe student protocol?
I thought it was really well put together and very well detailed, and it made me extremely sad that this was necessary. Life is today, so.
Was there any protocols in place prior to this year, or is this just updated, or is this just added?
Yeah, so there's always been protocols in place, although I think Michelle has really put together, and her team have put together robust improvements to it. It's not something that we necessarily brought to the board in the past, because it's not board policy, right? So the administration needs the ability to sometimes tailor things to individual circumstances, and sometimes change things at a moment's notice based on those individual circumstances. So we want to inform you, and we want you to know what it is that we do here, and we're looking for your approval for what we do, but also know that you know, the world of mental health and the guidelines and things that are centered around all of this protocols and procedures change on a regular basis, and we do you know, ask that we're able to pivot, you know, on a short notice to react to those changes in individual circumstances. So yeah, we have had them. I think these are more robust and more detailed than we've ever had before.
Yeah, I really appreciated the detail, and I'm glad we have something like this updated and in place.
I would move to approve the safe student protocols as presented.
Cummings was second.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor to approve as presented the safe student protocols by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Ms. Cummings. Any further discussion before a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Thank you, Mrs. Armentrout. Moving to action item F, the budget transfer. As we have in our packets, the, I guess, summary of the budget transfer amounts, and Ms. Gould spoke on it in the administrative reports. Any new questions before we take action here?
Cummings will make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 budget transfers.
Crave will second.
So a motion on the floor to approve as presented the 2021-2022 budget transfers by Ms. Cummings, seconded by Mr. Crave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. So we have an action/discussion item here for item G, the Waterloo Cable TV. As listed in your packets, we have some commentary here, and we also have a draft outline for review. from the Waterloo Cable TV and the Waterloo School District for a partnership. So the recommended motion, if you will, is to approve the continuation of an enhanced partnership with Waterloo Cable TV. Is there anything you'd like to add to the discussion here, Mr. Henning?
No, I don't believe so. Susie, do you have anything you want to add? Or?
No.
I have one question, I guess, and I don't know what page it's on because they're not labeled, but it's titled Waterloo Cable TV Regulatory Board Broadcast Monetization Policy. So it does state that the sporting events will be monetized. Can somebody clarify that for me? Exactly what does that mean?
That's for their ads. They're gonna make sure the ads are appropriate during some of the events that they're putting on the air.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions here as regards to the draft outline that's put together? I'm assuming the Waterloo Cable TV as the drone is listed here.
We either have one already or they're getting one. I don't remember.
Okay.
You guys have one already? A drone?
Well, we had one from Mike Blumenberg, but he was fired.
No, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Do you guys have a drone?
A drone? Yeah, we have access to one, so we could use that if needed. I believe, yes.
All right. Perfect. Any other questions? Board members.
Can you digitally enhance to give me a little more hair?
We're not visual effects artists.
We have been looking at getting uniforms and that type of item, so they may be available sometime, yes. With our logo on it and our business brand, yes.
If people are paying for ads, does the school district split that with the cable TV?
I think this is the time to talk about it. This is uncharted territory, I think, for us.
Yeah. That's my question.
I don't believe that would be intent.
I think this rhetoric for what the presentation was today, and this is Chad Tiber speaking, I'm a board member of the Cable Advisory Board. We just want to make sure that we try to give some insight as we go forward with what we could say. We're not stepping on anyone's toes as far as what events are technically near obviously public compared to what we may be invited into the school to get the honor of filming. And the big question I think that we were trying to get clarity with our last meeting is if it's not a public event where, say, the library is having event XYZ with a certain age limit, we're invited to show that to the public. We were, I think, outlining that we would not advertise with that type of content. Content that's more of an in-public type environment item, like a football game or a sporting game or anything that we can, when we have the resources as a team, with the equipment that we are using that's, multitudes of decades old, we're just trying to put our best foot forward as a positive force for the community. We are working as a group, trying to find out, what the right way to pay our budget is, find revenue streams and reasonability that isn't gouging anybody and is just fair. We're a community-based organization. We're very proud of what we're trying to do. And this has been a great year of a positive force of transition, and what we've gotten to do for the town we're very ecstatic and proud of. But we are trying to take our time to be reasonable forces, to have clarity as we may be able to invite sponsorships or advertising or things that actually will help us make a better product, a better positive force for our community, and overall maybe have us get some more talent.
Yes, speaking of talent, I like to speak. My name is Chris Ward. I graduated from this high school back in 2010, and I've been working with the TV station for over 5 years. So, and personally, I was wondering if it was possible to maybe find some talent and maybe even set up you see, I graduated from UW Whitewater with a minor in film studies, and I would love to share my knowledge with teenagers. I even came up with this idea of maybe doing a film class where they would learn like the history of film, how it's evolved, and maybe you could get them motivated to maybe make their own movies, and maybe even help us at the station. I had this idea for a TV show, but unfortunately it was cut short because Mike was fired, but I was hoping maybe I could find someone else to help me out. So those are some ideas for you guys.
Perfect.
So overall, the proposal on the table is dealing with that aspect of the insight of what I mentioned, of where it might be a classroom organized item compared to something in public is currently just, what we wanted to try to give some insight and vision for. Thank you for your time.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you for the information. Any other questions, board members? Again, I believe the action we're looking to approve here is continuation of the enhanced partnership with the Waterloo Cable Television, so.
I'll move.
Second. Mr. Setz has made the motion to proceed and has been seconded by Ms. Stangler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm gonna abstain because I'm on the cable board.
Okay, so motion will carry on a 6:01 with an abstention by Ms. Lewandowski. Brings us to action item H, concessions in the field house. As listed in your informative packets, district recently received feedback from the boosters that they have asked for us to revisit the decision which was made, I believe, last year to limit the concessions in our new field house for various reasons. So as it's stated here, they've asked us to reconsider, and maybe if we will not reconsider, just opening it up with no restrictions, that we would review and take a look at some sort of restrictions for perhaps popcorn and less damaging items than soda. Any discussion in regards to concessions in the field house by board members? And or Mr. Henning, if you'd like to expound on the information within our packets.
If this is the worst problem we have to deal with this year, we'll do okay. I know that. But I know it's a big deal to the boosters, and that's why we wanted to bring it in front of you again. A lot of the decisions that you make as a board are not easy ones because, from one philosophical standpoint of protecting, your $16 million facility, it makes sense to keep the food and everything out of the gym. But from a standpoint of, supporting the Booster Club, who does so much for our school and students, then, hampering their ability to raise funds is another side. So, I don't know that there's necessarily a right or wrong in this decision. It's just philosophically where you want to be, and maybe there's a hybrid in the middle somewhere, but I know schools do it both ways, so I don't have an easy answer for you. It's just, where do you want to be? I know, as we've been out and about talking about the referendums, I don't think this community wants to get into a path of having to pass referendums every time we need to do something around here. And so, taking care of what we have becomes more important than ever. Not that it wasn't important before, it's always been important, but even more important than ever, because to build the same facility that we built 4 years ago probably would be near twice the cost as what we built it for. So we have to take care of things, we have to, but we built it for people to use, and so I understand that side of it too.
So, board member discussion. Again, our current policy that we voted on last year was to allow no concessions in the field house. So, any actions? Do we allow water?
Yeah, I think we did allow water.
Yep, you said water.
Okay, let me redirect. We currently allow water in the field house.
I mean,
So-
people are gonna bring in food if they want, you know, even if it says no food. There are parents with kids, especially younger ones, like my 3.5-year-old that I swear to God eats every hour, to come to a sporting event and then I always have food with me. So maybe doing it more of like the hybrid and doing of a less invasive, maybe no soda, but do popcorn, do granola bars. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's another side of it too, is as it's, you know, virtually impossible to try to find workers for these events. The last thing, you know, somebody wants to do is making $10 an hour is go up and argue with, you know, somebody from Cambridge and tell them they have to leave the gym with their bag of popcorn. You know, so that is a side of it too, is management wise, it certainly would be easier to let it go than not. But I'm not suggesting that's the only thing you should think about, but that is one thing.
I think it does get let go now. Like
Probably
I
does.
have been at
Yeah.
events and seen people in the field house with popcorn and soda and candy and.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that would be uncomfortable for anybody to have to police on a regular basis. And I think it also prohibits our booster club from making a decent profit. And then they wind up having to have those conversations with their customers as well. I think it inhibits the relationship between the board and the booster club in some ways because they pass the buck to the board. That's why they can't have.
It's almost like visiting a cheese factory, not having any samples. You know, it's
Right,
just-
come on, you can't have non-samples.
So, I think we should keep the soda out, but I don't care, if the rest is sold and allowed,
I
that's
mean,
all
you
right.
could do Gatorade, you could do,
Stay away from anything with stickies.
I mean, again, they're gonna bring it in. So that's the thing is you're gonna either go to the dollar store and buy it and bring it in, or we're gonna actually have the booster club be able to make some money for it. So, I mean, now if it's abused and it's ruining our floors, then I think at that point we can come back and be like, okay, well, now we need to eliminate it because they abused that, being able to sell it. I mean, I guess, I don't know.
To me, that's a much harder task than just saying no. We already said no.
I just gotta bring up a group that might disagree. The maintenance department, I don't think enjoys cleaning up, trying to clean extra stuff off the floor. They've told me that there's like plastic bottles get caught underneath the wheels that move in and out. So, you know, I think you're gonna have an extra cost with the maintenance of phones.
But, and yes,
And I think that was one of the factors the last time we voted to keep the stuff out, was that part of it.
yes, but I do say once you give it, it's much harder to take it away. And we would potentially have the cost of whatever we are fixing. I want to say, I think what drove the decision last time was trying to keep our new facility as new as we could for as long as we could.
I still think that people are bringing it in, so.
If they're bringing it in and they're not supporting the boosters.
I know, but I'm saying if we actually were allowed to buy it there, then people wouldn't have to feel that they need to bring it in. Like, that's what I'm
Not allowed
saying.
to buy
is-
it.
It can be, the concessions is open, but you just can't carry it in the field house.
Right.
You gotta go out.
Yeah. Yeah, but then who's gonna wanna police that? I don't know.
Would setting where garbage is out help? Is that?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
of course.
I don't know if you can put a garbage on a bleacher or not.
No, but I mean, if you have a couple around, it definitely does help.
I also move to leave the policy where it is.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mr. Craig,
Sorry, I disagree with you.
seconded by Mrs. Stangler to leave the policy as it exists. Is there any discussion before we vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna do a roll call, sorry. Ms. Cummings?
No.
Ms. Craig?
Heck, yeah.
No.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay, if I did my math correctly, that will carry on a 4-3 vote. We're gonna leave it in place.
Just for the sake of saying it, I looked it up what you voted on it last time, you voted 4-3 also.
So
Clearly.
you're saying we're consistent. All right, moving on. Discussion item I, WASB Region 12 School Board meeting. I believe you have a handout in your informer packet regarding the regional meeting for school board members of the WASB. This year's Region 12 meeting is held September 29th in Middleton. Starts at 6 p.m. Pre-meeting workshop starting at 4:30 p.m. Is there anyone who is planning to attend or trying to finalize plans to attend? Mr. Craig? Any others available? No, that 4:30 is not. I'm going to try to be there. But I believe we went last year and got a tour of the Verona High School. It's a brand new facility, very nice. Pretty productive evening. It's pretty light lifting, I think Ms.
Yeah.
Landowski would agree.
That was fun. You should go.
It's good to speak with other board members at other districts who go through the same fun decisions that we go through. So, if you can make it, please do your best. Brian, am I safe to say if anyone's planning on attending, they can schedule through the administrative staff?
Yep.
Secure registration.
Certainly you can register yourself if you want, but Beth or I or Susie are all glad to help you do that as well. There is a small fee involved, so the district will pay that for you, so we'll just need to know if you register so we can get that sent out.
Sounds good. And we'll need to know relatively soon because it's obviously happening here on the 29th. We'll move forward to discussion item J, building and grounds meeting. As pointed out in your packet, not a ton of a large budget here to discuss, but as noted, we should stay up to speed on, 3 and 5 year maintenance plans within the Building and Grounds Committee. Just as a reminder, that's myself, Jim, and Karen, but all board members are welcome to attend any committee meeting. Does anyone have, Brian, do you have a desired date or some dates we can throw out to try to make, or how do you want to coordinate?
If you guys want to give me, if you have a date in mind, that's great. If you have a few, you can take a look at them and see. Between Susie and I think we're booked almost every night at somewhere for the referendum, but we'll just split duties and one will go one way and one will go the other.
Okay.
Would it be prudent to wait until after November 8th to have that meeting or not?
We could do that. That wouldn't be a bad idea because then you would at least know what you're dealing with for the year. I mean, it's one thing to look at what projects we have, but it's another to if we actually have any money available for those projects, which on November 8th we would know.
That'll work for me.
Good idea, Karen.
Mr. Sets? You good with wait till after the 8th? Yep. All right, moving on. Discussion item K. Curriculum meeting, committee meeting. Needs to take place prior to the November board meeting, which is when the full board would need to review for potential changes. So we'll need to get something on the books for that as well. For the life of me, I cannot recall that committee.
That's me. well, I'm leading it.
Me, Sue, and
Okay.
Kate.
Thank you, yeah.
How about,
Perfect.
how about October 4th,
What date is that?
the Tuesday?
Well, it needs to be a little bit more towards the end of the month because the teachers and staff are still working on their proposed changes. And that probably doesn't give them quite enough time to get those done to you.
Okay,
So
I
end of
mean, we could
October?
push them for a little quicker turnaround, but
so end of October, just because you said before November, so I thought that
Yeah, I
maybe we
know.
were gonna try to find a date and meet, and then if there were, like, last
Right.
year we met, and then we needed to come back and
We met
fit in a meeting
again,
again
yeah.
before the full board meeting, and we got stuck with that?
right. So if we could do, just in order to give those the teachers and the principals as much time as possible, you know, mid to late October would be better.
Not like the week of like October 17th.
So what about the Tuesday, the 18th?
Yeah, Tuesday the 18th.
I can't do Tuesday the 18th. Well, I could after 7:30, but probably don't want to start that late.
Could we do it like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of that week? I couldn't do Thursday.
I can't do Thursday.
Okay, what about Monday, the 17th? Monday the 17th it is. There you go.
At,
At what time?
We could do 6:30 like normal
That's
meeting,
fine
or
with me.
we could do it earlier if you guys want. I don't really care.
I could do 6.
Okay, alright, can you do 6? Or do you like it at 6:30?
Sometimes it's tough.
Okay, let's do
For me.
6:30 then. 6:30.
Yep, 6:30 is fine.
But that's pending, right, that teachers and or administrators can also make that date. Do you want me to shoot you an email about that, Brian?
I wrote it down. If there's a
Okay.
conflict, I'll get back to you right away, but
Okay.
I think we can make it work.
Okay.
So 10/17, 6:30 PM.
Yep.
Would you guys meet here or district office?
We can just meet in the district office.
All right, that brings us to action item L. And I will put a motion on the floor to go into closed session, pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1E. The Board of Education may move into closed session for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business. Whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session, discussion and potential action of awarding a contract to employ services for student transportation with Cobuson Transportation LLC. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
And that is a roll call vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 And I am a yes, and the time is 7:59. We will take a 10-minute recess, allow the tear down for the cable TV company, and then we'll get into closed session. Thank you all.
Okay, and when everybody is done taking a little break, we're gonna all meet in the commons because we're gonna take a board group picture.